Joining us now is NBC News White House correspondent Ali Rafa, NBC News correspondent Ali Vitale, and Lauren Leader, co-founder and CEO of All In Together, a nonprofit empowering women to participate in the political system. Let me start with you, Ali Vitale, because you've been talking to women directly impacted, patients, doctors, and more. How would you sum up the very personal and practical fallout from this ruling based on what you're hearing?
Well, look, for the people that I spoke to, they are feeling a lot of anguish on this one-year anniversary. And I will tell you, it's a very stark contrast from where I am right now at the conservative evangelical faith and freedom gathering. You've got former Vice President Mike Pence on stage behind me talking about how he's celebrating this as the one-year anniversary of Dobbs. But if you listen to the conversations that I had with these women who have had abortions themselves, they're feeling exactly opposite. Take a listen to part of our conversation. When the Supreme Court's decision on Dobbs came down a year ago, Amanda Zarowski was furious.
I was outraged, but I was also actively undergoing fertility treatment, and so I did not think that an abortion was something that I would ever need or want because I didn't understand fully how abortion is healthcare.
Months after Amanda finally got pregnant, doctors told her the fetus wouldn't make it, but also that they couldn't help.
She couldn't provide an abortion. She couldn't do any of the things that she was trained to do because of the restrictions in Texas, and as a result, it landed me in the ICU with sepsis. Knowing that you had to get worse in order to get the care that you needed, can you just talk to us a little bit more about how that felt? It was devastating, on top of terrifying, on top of infuriating. You know, we had already gotten this news that we were going to lose this baby that we wanted so desperately. And then on top of that, we had to wait for something even more terrible to happen.
It's a scenario Dr. Bhavik Kumar, a provider based in Texas, knows too well.
I have the expertise to help them, but we're in this very difficult place where we can't.
How does that feel as a doctor?
It feels awful. I have the skills, I have the training. I went to medical school, residency for over a decade, and instead of helping them, I have to say no over and over and over again.
And so, of course, Anna, there we're seeing from people who have made these decisions for themselves and who are at the very center of this. Both of those people, for example, from Texas, where we've seen restrictions placed even before the national federal levels were set by the Supreme Court. But here in this room, even as we were listening to that sound, I heard from former Vice President Mike Pence saying to everyone here in this room that he is advocating for a 15-week national abortion ban. That's something he would push for if he were elected president. And it really does set the precedent for the rest of the 2024 field as they try to jockey around this issue, some of them skirting the idea of where that week mark should be, others of them saying that that doesn't go far enough. Of course, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis put in place a 6-week abortion ban in his home state of Florida. All of this key to the 2024 presidential primary, even as all of these views are out of step with the national average, according to polls that we've done over time.
And right now, Democrats are trying to fight back. Ali Rafa, we learned this morning that the president is planning to sign an executive order on contraception access. What more can you tell us?
Yeah, Anna, well, we know the president is limited in his powers here. We've seen that focused on over the last year since the Dobbs decision. And so ever since then, this issue has taken on a whole new focus for this White House, especially for Vice President Kamala Harris, who's really spearheaded this issue since the Dobbs decision. And in the last year, we've seen the president, because this is really the only thing he can do, issue these executive actions to expand birth control access, to expand abortion access. The two of them that we've already seen so far, one of them is aimed at, among other things, making it easier for women to travel to other states if need be to access abortion care. It makes sure that healthcare providers don't delay their access to that health care. Another tries to protect their privacy, their access to that abortion care. And the one today is aimed at expanding birth control and family planning access. It's going to direct these federal agencies to suggest to them that they should urge insurance companies to cover all abortion care access, all contraception access that has been covered and approved by the FDA. It also calls for them to look into ways to improve that access to make it more affordable. And Anna, we've seen over the last year in poll after poll that this is an issue that has broad bipartisan bipartisan support, this issue of support for the expanded access of contraceptives. So later today, we expect the president, the vice president to speak just blocks away here from here at the White House to a group of, to several groups, reproductive care groups, and that is coming on the heels of some new endorsements by groups like Emily's List, like Planned Parenthood, the Biden campaign manager announcing those endorsements this morning. So fully expect this to, it's already taken on a whole new focus for the White House right now, to expect it to take even more of a focus as 2024 heats up, with essentially, you know, on this White House, on this campaign's wish list is to codify Roe into federal law. But of course, we saw that tried and failed in the aftermath of the Dobbs decision last year.
We have Caroline Kitchener, who's a national political reporter for the Washington Post, with us as well. And Caroline, you've done a lot of reporting on this. In the years since Roe was overturned, 13 states have banned abortion, with some limited exceptions, according to Guttmacher, with many more introducing restrictions to make access more difficult. In the meantime, just overnight, you have a judge in Wyoming blocking what would have been the first ban on abortion pills in the nation. So I guess so much has shifted in just the last year on the state level. It's hard for us to keep track of it all. How difficult is it for women to even know what's right, what's wrong, what the rules are in their states?
You know, just last night, and I saw on Instagram a abortion rights group in Montana putting out a call saying abortion is still legal here. It's something that a lot of states are struggling with. A lot of states where abortion is still legal, they're trying to get out the message that, you know, even though Roe v. Wade is overturned, access is still available within our borders. It's a real struggle. I think it's extremely confusing even for me. I cover abortion full time, and it's really hard to keep track of the changing laws and the court cases and things being blocked and unblocked. And there are a lot of cases still pending, and I don't see that really stabilizing anytime soon.
Lauren Leader, what is clear is public opinion is pretty strong on this. A brand new NBC News poll finds that a majority of voters remain opposed to the court's decision to strike down Roe. 61% disapprove, including nearly 80% of female voters between 18 and 49. And even a third of Republicans think it was the wrong decision. There's also a vast majority of independent voters who don't like the decision. How big of an issue do you think this will be for voters heading into 2024?
Anna, voters told us, and particularly women voters, Democrat and independent women told us that abortion and guns were the number 1 and 2 issues that are most important to them going into the election. And a huge number also said that it was a deal breaker issue, meaning that they would not support candidates that didn't agree with them on the issue of abortion. It's a huge factor, and even internal Republican polling, which was reported recently, found that the abortion issue is actually giving Democrats the advantage on the generic Senate ballot. Republicans are seeing it as a +3 net for Democrats on the Senate races. I don't think there's any question that this is a critical issue, and I think every Democratic candidate running is going to be making a lot of hay out of it, as they should, because it matters that much to their voters. On the other hand, I think it's a very complicated and difficult subject for Republicans because their own voters are deeply divided over this and feel that many of the laws have gone too far. This has totally rewritten the political rules going into this very critical election year.
Lauren, the fall of Roe came right in the middle of last year, and according to the Society of Family Planning, there were more than 30,000 fewer abortions in the 6 months after the fall of Roe compared to the 6 months before. So what does that tell you about the access to abortion in America right now?
Well, the chaos is real, and the fear of women and doctors is very real, and it is having a chilling effect on women seeking the health care that they need or being able to make the choices that they would like to make about their families. And that is exactly what the point was for lawmakers who've passed these bans. It is what they wanted to accomplish. But I think the bigger issue, which we are starting to wrap our arms around, is the vast health consequences in states that have abortion bans or have limited abortion. Maternal mortality mortality has increased. And those things go together. It's the complexity of government essentially regulating healthcare. The consequences are sometimes unintended, but as you heard from Allie's reporting, they can be devastating. And I think we'll be hearing much more about this as the months and years wear on.
Ladies, thank you so much for the conversation. Lauren Leader, Caroline Kitchener, Ali Raffa, and Ali Vitale. I appreciate all of you. And we have some breaking news right now.